This is going to be a little intro for the whole course. I'm gonna show you exactly what you're gonna find inside and why I trade in this way. So first thing first, let's begin on why I trade in this way. Now you got all the foundation from the strategy. You know every single concept I use inside of it. Now you have all the pieces of the puzzle, but now it's normal that you struggle to put all of those pieces together, right? Because there are two ways that you can trade the strategy. So the first one is going to be the one you're actually doing. So that will be basically using your own logic. So when you go to the chart, what you do is basically you don't know actually what do you have to look for, and you just try to apply every single concept you saw into the course. So let's say you start marking up your range, but you don't know exactly how to do into the chart. But you know from the theory, that's basically two QMs. That's a low and a high. That's what you learn from the theory. But the hard part from the strategy can be for you to go to the chart and apply all of this concept to try to trade on a simple and systematic way. Or even when you actually write about spotting the range, this can be hard for you to spot the internal range liquidity because you move between different time frames, and on some time frames you see some liquidity that in others you don't see a lot of liquidity, and you might be wondering all the time the price takes out the internal, why didn't price even came down lower? So you're basically just guessing all the time where your range starts, where your range ends, where the internal range liquidity will be placed, on which PI price can come into. Because even if you have marked up your internal range liquidity correctly, you will have so many choices to choose from PIs because you have maybe, let's say, an order block, a wick, imbalance fill. You have so many of them. So now that's why you struggle because you know all the pieces of the strategy, but you don't know how to put them together and to don't confuse yourself, to trade something simple that is effectively. So that's what you're first doing right now. You're just trading using your logic. That's not wrong, but this has pros and cons. The main pro that you can have is when you know how range works and how to put everything together. You can catch basically every single move because you don't have a specific checklist. You actually just trade based on your common sense, right? This is the only pro you can have using something logical. But there are a lot of downside that you may have experienced by trading this way. You may just overthinking and just asking yourself way too many questions. So let's say, for example, you go to the chart and you have a lot of data and you don't know where your range starts, if this is really your weak high and if this is really a strong low, because the market is not going to show you exactly like this. It's going to show you also structure inside, and you might be confused if, let's say, your range starts from here to here, or it starts from a strong low here to a weak high here. And this repeats every single time, even marking up your equity and even the way you approach the range. Because maybe it's a T1, maybe it's a T2, maybe there is intrinsic equity, maybe there is intrinsic equity. So that's the main con. You might have experienced it, just questioning a lot. Now, the strategy is not meant to try on this way, to just question yourself on an endless point that you're just gonna even starting, even if your bias is right or wrong. But this can come if you use your logic, because you know all the pieces, but you struggle to put them back together. So that's the main con when trading just using your logic. And also, if let's say you have the wrong bias, so let's say your purple low in reality was simple liquidity on the right way to approach the range, you're gonna catch tons of losses because you're just gonna catch random trades. So let's say price of like this, you will catch a short, for example, because You anticipate this one to hold, so you get stepped out. Now you just don't know yet where the market can lead to. So you don't know if market can drop or just push up. So you just get induced every single time on an endless way to catch losses in a row. Right? So that's the main issue you may having with your inner logic. And that's completely true because now you have all the pieces, but you don't know yet how to put them together. Right? So I'm gonna show you my way of trading. I don't trade based on my own logic. I have a lot of experience in the market, but this doesn't mean I have to just trust myself and my logic. Because if I just start trading in this way, I will just end up in your same situation because maybe my intuition may be wrong onto this range or not, right? Who knows, reality. But when you just try to trade in a systematic way, so let's call this mechanical, is not meant to be mechanical. I prefer calling this systematical because that's a system, right? It's not mechanical because you have to think, right? But once you try to trade in a systematical way, you just know that whenever you come inside a scenario, you already know what to look for because you're gonna have a simple checklist. I'm gonna give you 3 rules that you just have to check them. So if this respect rule number 1, you check it. Rule number 2, you check it. Rule number 3, you check it. And then you just have to place your trade because you trade something systematical. You trade something that is objective, a rule-based system. That's why I trade in this way. The main pro you're gonna have is that you cannot overthink anymore because trading on the way I trade is simple as black or white. So you're gonna have just, or does it follow your rules? So yes, if follow your rules, you're just gonna end up placing your trade. And if it's a no, you don't place your trade. You don't have to think about the scenario you're inside, don't have to think about nothing else. Or you trade something objective and systematical. Because all your focus, all your trust is made your checklist, is made into your trading plan. That's why I'm so confident by taking setup when I came across the market, because I don't have to trust my logic, my common sense, and all the factors that can be wrong if you trade in the long run. I just trust my trading plan. That's where my trust came into. I don't have to think about scenarios that I may like or I don't like. Does it follow your rules? Yes or no? At the end of the day, that will be simple as black and white. Does it match your checklist or it doesn't match your checklist? So I'm gonna show you that way of trading. That will be my way of approaching the market every single day. You're gonna be surprised about how simple it is and how consistent this system is, right? Because I'm gonna show you also why trading with the logic might not be good for you. Let's say we came across this scenario right here. All right. We have our range. Let's say I see this red range right here, and the overall we are bearish. And I see this type of range is a T1, right? So this high right here will simply be my internal range equity, the trap, in other words. But you do see this area as a strong high. So you see price running all liquidity break structure that is currently made a strong high, or in other words, a high. So you see this range right here, is orange range right here. Now we can argue about saying that this may be a trap or maybe an area to hold, because on my way of using my logic, this will be a trap. It's obvious that to me is going to be a trap. But you might say that this is a strong high and made a weak low in a bearish market structure. And you may find internal range liquidity feeding into a unmitigated PI. You see how it's confusing this way. You cannot teach your own logic because this is just your way of seeing the market. This will come with your experience and your personal preferences, but it's not something that you can teach. And that's why some of you are struggling managing the strategy, because this opens way too many questions when you look to the chart. You don't know yet what to look for because this may be a trap, this might not be a trap. You see, overthinking, over questioning, in other words. But once you put this down on a simple checklist, for you, it just does it follow the checklist or it doesn't. If it follows, just enter your trade, place your order, and trust the setups. You cannot overthink once you have a trading plan because it's meant to be objective, it's meant to be systematical. And that's exactly what I'm about to show you. Right, so basically you're gonna learn exactly my way of trading, my way to approach the market. You're gonna be able to catch my same exact trades because you don't have to learn my logic. You don't have to learn my experience or my personal preferences. You just have to learn the way I approach the market, my checklist and my trading plan. And then you will start taking my same exact trades, right? So that's what you're gonna learn into this course. I'm gonna explain you everything from A to Z, and you're gonna be surprised about how simple my trading is. Because remember, my trading is meant to be simple. I don't like to do something that has to be complicated, that has to make you overthink. It's just a rule-based system that is meant to be simple. Remember that for the whole course. So that's all for this video. Let's just jump into the course.